Opening the Red Dawn. The first sunrise over New Ares City wasn't like anything seen on Earth. The Martian sun was smaller, paler, filtered through a thin veil of pink dust that turned the sky a deep copper red. It rose over a landscape carved from rock and iron, glinting faintly off the domed settlements scattered across the plains of Utopia Planitia. For the 6,000 humans who now called Mars home, this was no longer a foreign planet. It was their world. It was the year 2147, 40 years since the first successful colonization wave. The Earth, exhausted by climate collapse and political gridlock, had turned its gaze upward. Mars was once a dream of billionaires and visionaries, but now it had become humanity's second cradle, a fragile outpost balancing between survival and ambition. Dr. Ilara Miles stood inside Observation Dome 7, watching the sunrise over the habitat sprawl. She had been born on Earth, but her daughter Lyra had never set foot there. To Lyra, gravity was heavier only in stories, oceans were myths, and blue skies were a color she had only seen in VR projections. Ilara was part of the Terraforming Directorate, the massive scientific body responsible for making Mars more Earth-like, a process expected to take centuries. But over the last decade, humanity's understanding of Mars had shifted. Terraforming wasn't just about altering the planet. It was about adapting themselves to it. The age of adaptation. The colonists' survival depended on technology so sophisticated it bordered on the miraculous. Massive dome cities sealed against the thin carbon dioxide atmosphere. Underground caverns lined with ice reservoirs for water. Nuclear fusion reactors buried beneath regolith to power entire settlements. Yet even with all that, Mars was still a harsh parent. Every Martian knew the rules. Don't wander beyond your dome without a calibrated suit. Always check your oxygen seals. Always carry 2 beacons, and when a dust storm hits, get underground, fast. But Ilara and her team were on the frontier of a different challenge. Biological adaptation. It started with the Helios Project, an initiative to alter the human genome for better survival on Mars. They discovered that prolonged exposure to Martian gravity, just 38% of Earth's, caused muscle atrophy, brittle bones, and organ strain that even exosuits couldn't fully correct. Traditional medicine was losing the race. So humanity took the next leap. By 2128, the first generation of Martian-born humans had already begun exhibiting genetic drift. Slightly longer limbs, denser blood to carry oxygen more efficiently, and pale skin resistant to solar radiation. What began as an accident of biology became a deliberate act of design. CRISPR-derived gene therapies were introduced to embryos before birth. Artificial wombs replaced fragile gestation in low gravity. These new humans were called Homo Martis, the first true branch of humanity born beyond Earth. Lyra Miles was among them. She was 15, curious and restless, always sneaking into the upper domes to watch the horizon or pilot drones across the dunes. She and her friends weren't afraid of Mars like their parents were. They felt it was theirs. The red dust didn't threaten them, it called to them. But that new confidence frightened Ilara. She had seen what Mars could do to the overconfident. The planet had no mercy, no second chances. One day, during a survey mission to the northern basin, a young terraforming crew went missing. Their rover had vanished during a dust storm that lasted nearly 3 weeks. When rescue teams finally found the wreckage, the logs showed the crew had ventured out intentionally after losing communication, driven by something strange. They had followed a faint energy signal emanating from beneath the ice. The discovery beneath the red ice. It began as rumor among the terraformers, talk of alien ruins or ancient microbes trapped beneath the polar crust. Most scientists dismissed it as magnetic interference or instrument failure. Mars had always played tricks on explorers. But Ilara's curiosity was relentless, and when the Directorate authorized a small reconnaissance mission, she volunteered to lead it. The coordinates took them to the Erebus Trench, a chasm near the northern pole, where the ice met the rock in jagged glassy formations. Drones drilled into the surface and sent back spectral data, anomalous heat signatures, consistent energy pulses repeating every 43 seconds. When they drilled deeper, they found a cavity, artificial in shape, reinforced with an unknown alloy. Inside the chamber lay a structure that defied all known engineering. Hexagonal walls glowing faintly blue, inscriptions that reacted to touch, and a central obelisk pulsing with energy. Ilara realized, with an awe she could barely process, that it wasn't human. It was a machine, buried for millions of years beneath the Martian ice. The Directorate classified it instantly. Teams from Earth were dispatched, communications encrypted. Officially, the site didn't exist. Unofficially, Ilara and her colleagues began to study it in secret. What they learned reshaped human understanding of Mars itself. The machine was ancient, predating human civilization by at least 10 million years. Its energy patterns resembled a quantum field generator, capable of manipulating molecular structures in the environment. Some theorized it was part of a terraforming mechanism, a relic from a civilization that had once lived here, possibly destroyed by the same climate collapse that left Mars barren. For the first time, humanity faced a mirror, not of their past but their possible future. The Rift A divided humanity. News of the discovery couldn't stay buried forever. Leaked transmissions spread across the colonies and eventually reached Earth. And then the conflict began. On Earth, governments and corporations saw the Martian artifact as a strategic asset. If it could terraform Mars, it could potentially restore Earth's dying ecosystems, or be weaponized. The Earth Confederation demanded full control. But the Martian colonies refused. For decades they had lived under Earth's shadow, their resources taxed, their autonomy limited. The discovery gave them leverage and identity. The Martian Council, composed of the colony leaders, declared that the artifact belonged to Mars alone. "We are not Earth's experiment," said Governor Yoon Takari in a speech broadcast across the solar network. "We are its evolution." Ilara found herself caught between loyalties. She had been born on Earth, but her daughter was Martian. The tension between worlds was no longer political. It was existential. When Earth's orbital fleet positioned itself near Mars, claiming to secure research operations, protests erupted across the domes. Food convoys were halted. Terraforming projects paused. Even air recyclers began to fail under rationing. It wasn't war, not yet, but it was a siege. And amid it all, Lyra disappeared. The descent. The call of the machine. Lyra had been drawn to the mystery of the Erebus site, just as her mother had been. She believed the artifact wasn't a weapon but a message. A remnant of a civilization that had once faced the same choices humanity did. Before she vanished, she left a message for Ilara. "Mars isn't waiting for us to change it, Mom. It's asking if we're worthy of living here." Following encrypted navigation data embedded in Lyra's message, Ilara traced her daughter's path northward. With a small rover and 2 drones, she braved the dust storms of the polar regions, her oxygen reserves dwindling. When she reached the Erebus Trench again, she found the excavation chamber breached. The obelisk pulsed brighter than before, resonating like a heartbeat. Standing before it, in a faint glow, was Lyra. Her helmet was off, and she was breathing. Lara froze. "Lyra, how?" Lyra smiled faintly, eyes shimmering with blue light. "It's the machine. It's not alien, Mom. It's alive. It's been waiting for us. It's been shaping the atmosphere, molecule by molecule, teaching the planet how to breathe again. Ilara's instruments confirmed the impossible. Oxygen levels in the chamber had reached 20%, nitrogen 70%, and carbon dioxide had stabilized. For the first time in recorded history, there was breathable air on Mars, if only in one place. The machine wasn't just terraforming. It was evolving the environment using quantum resonance, triggered somehow by human biosignatures. Ilara realized the truth. Mars was never truly dead. It had been dormant, waiting for a compatible intelligence to awaken it. And humanity had finally done so. The war for Mars-Earth didn't see it that way. When data from the Erebus site leaked again, the Confederation declared Mars under containment protocol. Orbital drones began targeting relay satellites, cutting off the colonies from interplanetary communication. The Martian Council mobilized in defiance. Civil engineers reconfigured atmospheric processors into EMP arrays. Fusion reactors were repurposed to power defense grids. It was a war no one wanted, fought between a planet and its parent world. Ilara tried to mediate, sending encrypted transmissions to both sides. "You're fighting over the wrong thing," she pleaded. "This isn't a weapon. It's a chance to heal both worlds." But neither side listened. In the chaos, Lyra returned to the Erebus site, believing she could amplify the machine's signal to spread the atmospheric process across Mars. Ilara followed her, torn between fear and faith. As Earth's orbital strike teams descended through the thin skies, Lyra activated the obelisk. The energy pulse that followed was unlike anything humanity had seen. A wave of light spread across the horizon, visible from orbit, carrying within it a storm of molecular transformation. The Martian dust glowed, particles reorganizing into crystalline lattices that emitted oxygen. Then came the rain. Not water, not yet, but condensation. The first droplets in millions of years fell upon the red desert. The new dawn. After the storm, when the pulse faded, communications were silent. Earth's fleets retreated. The obelisk powered down, its light dimmed. The Erebus region had changed, its atmosphere thicker, its ice melting into streams that carved paths through the crimson soil. Lyra survived, though she remained unconscious for weeks. Her blood chemistry had altered beyond anything the medics had seen. Denser hemoglobin, trace elements of unknown compounds. She was human, but something more. In the months that followed, the transformation spread. The atmosphere stabilized slightly. Small ferns, genetically engineered years earlier, began to grow unaided on the surface. It was fragile, incomplete, but real. Earth eventually reopened talks, this time not as rulers but as partners. Terraforming research became a joint endeavor again, guided by Ilara and the new generation of Homo Martis. The machine at Erebus was declared a shared heritage site of humankind, the first relic of a planetary intelligence, whether alien or self-created. Lyra recovered enough to return to the surface. She stood outside the domes one morning, helmet off, breathing the thin but breathable air of Mars. The horizon shimmered with sunlight breaking through clouds. Real clouds. She looked at her mother. "Do you think it's enough?" Ilara smiled faintly. "It's a beginning." Epilogue. The voice of Mars years later. Historians would mark the Erebus event as the turning point in human evolution. Not because of the technology, but because of the choice it represented. Humanity had learned that survival wasn't just about dominating new worlds. It was about understanding them. Mars had been patient, silent, waiting for a species willing to listen. Under the first true rainfall in Martian history, the descendants of Earth looked up, not as conquerors but as children of two worlds. And somewhere deep beneath the planet's crust, the ancient machine pulsed once more, its rhythm syncing with the heartbeat of a new civilization. Humanity had not just lived on Mars. They had become Mars.